Hi everyone. So this is a continuation on the discussion of other performance evaluation and improvement tools. So in this part of the video, I will be discussing MRP1, MRP2, and ERP. Let me just go back. Okay. So MRP stands for Materials Requirement Planning. Okay, so it has two versions. Okay, we have MRP1 and MRP2. So MRP1, again, MRP here stands for Materials Requirement Planning. MRP or MRP1 is a technique which aims to ensure that material resources such as your raw materials, bought in components, and in house sub-assembles are made available just before they are needed by the next stage of production or dispatch. It is basically a system which controls the system of inventory, particularly raw materials inventory, so that up to date records of the status of a large number of items in inventory can be kept. An MRP system works out outputs from the master production schedule, orders for external components, sales demand forecast, inventory or stock records, and bill of materials. So MRP takes care of the timely phasing of requirements, planned order releases, generation of component level requirements, and rescheduling capability. The ability of the MRP system is to deliver what is required in correct place at the correct time will be dependent on the quality of the information which is put into the computer model. The core data requirements for operating an MRP system are your master production schedule, bill of material file, inventory file, routings file, and master parts file. So again, why is MRP1 crucial in an organization? MRP1 actually ensures that the material resources are made available just before they are needed by the next stage of the production or dispatch, as I have mentioned a while ago. So the aims of MRP are to use of computers in order to determine for final products what should be produced and at what time. So actually, the three primary steps for MRP is first to take account of materials and components on hand, and then determine the additional inventory needed, and then schedule their production or purchase. In short, or to put it simply, MRP is a system that helps us monitor our inventories. So actually, we start from the sales part of the or sales component of the organization. So, for example, if we forecast that we have this particular number of or quantity of sales, then the system actually works out how much raw materials are needed to produce this number of finished goods in order to sell it to our clients or customers. So, for example, if the demand is 100,000 units of finished goods, then the system works out how many raw materials and what pieces of raw materials do we need in order to produce the 100,000 units. So the use of MRP is very, very useful if your business is into manufacturing. So it answers the questions what to order. What to order, this is specific to the materials that we need in order to produce the finished goods. So what to order, when to order, the timing of the purchase of the raw materials, and how much to order. So the aim and objectives of MRP are the following: to determine what and when products should be produced, to calculate the required production and phase time needed requirements for materials or sub-assemblies on a planning time horizon. So for example, if that specific finished good will take few days to finish, so we also have to know which specific point in time this particular material is needed. So the timing. So if we do this manually, this will be very much complicated and time consuming. So that is why we have MRP. This is a system that will help us decide when to order, what to order, and how much to order. Another aim and objective of MRP is to calculate inventory, work in process, batch sizes, and manufacturing and packing lead times needed for production. So, how many days does this particular inventory need in order for this to be completed? How many days will it take for this finished good to be packed and ready for shipment? It will also give us a balance of our raw materials, work in process, and finished goods at a specific point in time. Another objective of MRP is to control inventory on the basis of orders received rather than ordering them from stock level point of view. So this is like backwards approach. So we start from the demand or the sales demand, and then from there we work on how many raw materials do we need in order to produce this number of units that are based on our sales demand. Okay, so this is more on backwards approach. Features of MRP. The notable features of MRP system include the following. Materials are determined on the basis of a production plan. Then there is a regular update of material requirements. Order points for each assembly and sub-assembly are determined in advance on the basis of delivery date and lead time. There are only few safety stocks maintained under the MRP system. So if there are only few safety stocks, this actually saves us storage cost. So if we don't need to store lots and lots of raw materials inventory, this will only require us a very limited storage space, which in fact results to lower storage cost. And in fact, if we don't store too much or many inventories at the same time, it will also lower the cost of obsolescence or um, damage of our inventories. There's a constant check exercise to see that the items have been ordered and received on time. So again, for MRP, this is like since materials are determined on the basis of a master production plan, this is termed as a backward technique. Backward technique. Okay. So what are the basic inputs and outputs of MRP? So I have mentioned this in passing a while ago. So we have the master production schedule. This specifies the quantity of each finished unit of products to be produced along with the time with each unit will be required. So you can actually print out a master production schedule from the MRP system. Bill of material file. This file specifies the sub-assemblies, components, and materials requirement for each item of finished good. So for each item of finished good, it will actually list what are the raw materials needed and the quantity of the raw materials needed for that particular finished good. And then it will also give us an inventory file. MRP maintains details of items on hand for each sub-assemblies, components, and materials required. So this gives us the information on the balance or the level of inventories that we currently have. Then we have routing file. This file specifies the sequence of operations required to manufacture components, sub-assemblies, and finished goods. So routing file from this department or uh, this activity to another activity. Example, first activity is the cutting. So cut from cutting and then proceed to machining, and then proceed to sewing and so on. So routing file, this gives us the information as to which activity the inventory is already in. The work in process inventory is already in. And then master parts file, it contains information about the production time of assemblies, sub-assemblies, and components produced internally and lead time for externally procured items. So this is an overview of the MRP system. So the MRP system, this has the master production schedule, the bill of materials, the inventory file, and then it shows us the inventory transactions. Then the MRP system can give us a report on the planned order schedules, order releases and changes and schedules if any. And then it will also give us exception reports, planning reports, performance control reports, and some other reports that are not depicted here. So what is the prerequisite or what are the prerequisites for a successful operation of MRP? The prerequisites for successful operation of MRP are as follows. The latest production and purchasing schedules prepared should be strictly adhered to day. So, um, sometimes what is seen in the system is not actually what is done in reality when we look at our manufacturing plant. So, for the operation of MRP to be very successful in our organization, we must see to it that we adhere to the schedule as presented in the system. Otherwise, it will cause chaos. Then, raw materials, sub-assemblies, and components required for production should be predetermined in quantifiable terms. Standards should be set for the consumption quantity, quality, mix, and yield of raw materials for every unit of finished product. So, at the onset, at the start of our use of MRP, the system do not know how many units of raw materials needed in order to produce the finished good. So, for the operation of our MRP to be very successful, we need to make use of the expertise of our engineers or some other experts that will really know how many raw materials or how many units of raw materials are needed in order to produce a particular finished good, and that information should be entered in the system. So that information will now be used by our system every time uh, every time there will be a production of such specific finished good. Then the workforce must be appraised of the system and the need for absolute adherence to the schedules prepared. So the employees must also be trained on how to use the MRP, um, how to read the reports produced by our MRP system. So they must be able to navigate the system for them to be able to uh, adhere also to the schedules that are in the system. The necessary internal control system should be developed to ensure total adherence to the schedule. So, for the internal controls, we must make sure that a particular employee has no access to records that are beyond his or her responsibility. To eliminate also the erasure of or the what do you call this, the misappropriation of inventories. And then, for example, if a specific person has access to all records and has the authority to change, add, delete, and so on, a particular entry in the system, then that is a risk on the side of on the part of the company, because what if that person will misappropriate our inventories and then just hide his crime in the system because he or she can manipulate the system. So we must be able to Im- impose strict internal control here in the system itself. And then there is a need that the data supplied in the system are accurate, because Again, we go back to the concept that garbage in, garbage out. So if the data that is supplied in the system are inaccurate, then we cannot also rely on the outputs or the reports generated by the MRP system. Now let's discuss methods of operation of MRP, or the steps or the process. MRP systems consolidate the firm and predicted production targets. So again, this is backward technique, right? They then calculate what materials are needed, assuming a fixed relation of products, raw materials, and manufacturing lead times. Then finally, they compare the required raw materials and components with what is available and what is ordered and committed raw materials or components to determine what materials and components have to be bought in from the suppliers. So the information provided by an MRP system includes the following: gross requirements, scheduled receipts, projected available balance, and planned order release. So gross requirements, this shows us the demand for the components or assembly, comprising the company's customer orders and forecasts, sales forecasts. Scheduled receipts, this shows us the expected delivery dates and quantities of purchase orders already put in the system. And then projected available balance. This shows us the number of items projected to be in the inventory at the end of each period. Then we can also see the planned order release. This shows us the order quantities required to ensure that the projected available balance does not drop below zero at any preset safety level. So the benefits of MRP are that a detailed forecast of the inventory position is produced period by period, which, together with the planned order release entries, enables future production to be planned more accurately and better control to be maintained of the inventory. So, what are the benefits of MRP? The benefits of a successful MRP system include the following: significantly decreased inventory levels and corresponding decreases in inventory carrying costs, fewer stock storage, which cause our production interruptions and consuming schedule juggling by managers, increased effectiveness of production supervisors and less production chaos, better customer service. Why? Because there is an increased ability to meet delivery schedules and to set delivery dates earlier and more reliably. And then greater responsiveness to change. MRP gives manufacturing a better feel for the effects of economic swings, and changes in woodcut demand can be translated into schedule changes very quickly. So it is adaptable to change. Closer coordination in the marketing, engineering, and finance activities with the manufacturing activities. So that's it for MRP 1. Now let's move on to MRP 2. MRP here for MRP2 stands for manufacturing resource planning. Manufacturing resource planning. So what is MRP2? MRP2 utilizes software applications for coordinating manufacturing processes, from product planning, parts purchasing, inventory control to product distribution. MRP2 is a method for the effective planning of all the resources of a manufacturing company. It also addresses operational planning in units and its financial planning. MRP2 is made up of a variety of functions that are linked together, such as your business planning, sales and operations planning, demand management, production planning, master scheduling, material requirement planning, capacity planning, and the execution support systems for capacity and material. The output from the system MRP2 is integrated with financial outputs such as the business plan, purchase commitment report, shipping budget, inventory projections, etc. So this is MRP2 coordinates the manufacturing process at a wider scope. Okay, it is wider or broader as compared to MRP1. So this is MRP2 and its interfaces. We have the production interface, the accounting interface, and the marketing interface. So as you can see here, MRP2 doesn't only focus on the inventories or production, but it also has an accounting interface and a marketing interface. Here are the essential elements of MRP2. So we have the demand forecast, which takes into account our company orders and sales forecasts. Then we also have production planning, which converts the demand forecast into a broad statement of output requirements and the necessary production program. Then we also have resource planning, which determines the manufacturing resources. When we say manufacturing resources, these are the materials and components required to meet the production program. Then we also have rough cut capacity planning. This is used to test the feasibility of meeting the production program, taking into account the capacity available. So it gives us a taste of reality. We should not, uh, for example, if we are targeting to produce lots of finished goods, but what if our current plant capacity is not enough to produce that specific number of products? So that is the role of a rough cut capacity planning to take into account the capacity available. Then we have the master production schedule, which is prepared on the basis of the information obtained from the demand forecasting, production planning, resource planning, and rough cut capacity planning process. So the results of the first four items here are consolidated in the master production schedule. Then bill of material. It is a storage of basic data for defining our products. That is, it gives us a list of the components and materials required to produce the end product or the finished product, finished good. Materials requirement planning, which determines component and material requirements on the basis of information from the master production schedule and the purchasing and inventory control function. So you can see that the MRP1 is actually a part of MRP2, but MRP2 is much more than MRP1. We also have detailed material and capacity plans, which set out the detailed schedules for providing material and capacity as derived from the material requirement plans and detailed capacity planning. Only if capacity is available is the plan allowed to proceed. So if we are capable, that's the time, or yeah, if we are capable, that's the only time that the plan will be allowed to proceed. Shop and purchase order release. This activates production and purchasing. You also have a shop floor control, which monitors production against the plan and feedback, which enables the master production schedule and capacity and material plans to be updated. And lastly, we have purchase and inventory control, which monitors purchasing against the material plans and feedback to the master production schedules and material plans to enable updating to take place as required. Inventory control are also maintained on the basis of shop floor storage. So that's it for MRP2. So if we are to compare MRP1 and MRP2, so the MRP1 has these features: inventory, bill of materials, master production schedule. But MRP2 goes beyond those three. We have the equipment maintenance and scheduling, accounting and financial planning, and then forecast demand. So MRP2 is more holistic as compared to MRP1. But again, in deciding whether to implement just MRP1 and MRP2, you also have to take into account the budget of the company because, again, these two things are systems that either if you have an in-house IT consultants or IT professionals, they can make the system for you from scratch. But if you want to just purchase the system from a vendor, outside vendor, no, uh, I'm sure MRP2 is much more expensive than MRP1. So if your budget is very limited and you can just afford MRP1, then you can just use MRP1, and then for the other features you can do it manually. Next we have ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning. ERP means the techniques and concepts of integrated management of business as a whole. Business as a whole. So, not just a particular aspect of a business, but business as a whole. From the viewpoint of the effective use of management resources to improve the efficiency of enterprise management. ERP provides integrated business software. So just like MRP1 and MRP2, ERP is also a business software. So, but it has modules to support functional units of an enterprise. It has a process-oriented approach in the sense that it focuses on core processes like order fulfillment, materials procurement, balance sheet preparation, and etc. And it also attempts to integrate various functions of an enterprise involved in the execution of these processes. The ERP actually owes its origin to two earlier planning systems, and those are your MRP1 and MRP2. The strength of ERP lies in its ability to go beyond the fulfillment of needs of specific departments or functions and address the needs of the enterprise or business as a whole. The process oriented perspective of ERP breaks departmental barriers in the integration, transmission, and processing of data, which may be accused by any department, or maybe used rather by any department as and when needed. So, this is the um, most holistic business software in that it not only focus on it not only focuses on specific aspects of the organization, but all aspects of the organization to make sure that the data from one department to another will are really coherent and will speak with each other. So here, these are the examples of ERP modules. We have the production module, human resources, planning, inventory management, reporting, customer relationship management, sales and marketing, finance and accounting. So the ERP modules are the integrated modules to support functional units of a business. So this is based on company's needs and varies from business to business because, for example, if your business is not into manufacturing, of course, you should not have a production module, right? If your company is into the rendition of services, you will not also have inventory management module. So this will really vary from business to business. So how does ERP differ from the MRPs, the two MRPs? ERP is developed in the 1990s by the Gartner Group. This is an extension of the functionalities of MRP2. And obviously, it is more comprehensive. This is equipped with more modules. And then MRP is still a crucial component of ERP. It is it is a more expensive option. It has a shared database information. It has integration across functions, departments, and data. And that MRPs are more specific to manufacturing processes, while ERP has a broader coverage. Let me just pause the recording for a while. I need to take up a call. Sorry, sorry for the interruption. Okay, let's proceed. So these are the companies that are actually using ERP. So the big companies are actually using ERP because it's very hard to use just MRP1 or MRP2 or even just Microsoft Excel to handle all the voluminous data that the company has. So these are the famous companies that are using ERP software. We have Amazon, Starbucks, Toyota. So some examples of industries who use ERPs are healthcare. So if you go inside a hospital, diba, they are using a system there. So the system actually links from, let's say, the billing department and then to the let's say the nurse, or the handling nurses or doctors. They can also update the system, and then the system will automatically calculate your bill and so on. So healthcare, and then manufacturing companies, e-commerce, and even non-profit organizations. So for Amazon, Amazon uses the ERP software called SAP or SAP. I'm sure for those who graduated um, in USC senior high school, you had a subject for SAP. But for SAP, there are different versions. So basic version is SAP Business One, and then there are other um, more improvised versions which are more expensive as well. So here we have the this is a snippet of SAP or SAP. Then you can see here the modules. Okay, and for each module, it has different functions. And then for Starbucks, Starbucks uses Oracle, Oracle e-business suite. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to experience using Oracle, but I have used SAP before. But this is for Oracle. So it shows us here is a dashboard of our performance. And then we have the navigator here. These are for the modules. Okay. So what are the characteristics of ERP? ERP is flexible. So it has flexibility. An ERP system is flexible enough to respond fast to the changing needs of the organization. It is modular and open. ERP system has the open architecture, that is, any modules can be interfaced or detached without affecting the use of the rest of the modules. It is also comprehensive because it supports various organizational functions and is suitable for a wide range of business organizations. It is beyond the company. It is not confined to the organizational boundaries. Rather, it is extended to the external business entities connected to the organization with online connectivity. In fact, the ERP that I am using right now for a client, we can actually receive the bills, let's say the invoice from our suppliers. They can automatically send us a copy of the invoice, and then the invoice will be inputted in the system already, so it speaks with one another. Best business practice, it has built-in best business practices applicable worldwide, and imposes its own strategies and logics over existing culture and processes of the organization. So some features of the ERP include the following. Um, it supports planning activities, end-to-end supply chain management. It facilitates integrated information systems. It enhances customer service. It bridges the information gap across organizations. It gives a solution for better project management. It introduces latest technologies. It eliminates business problems or inefficiencies, and it provides intelligent business tools. So yes, ERP is very, very useful. But then again, not all businesses use ERP because this also entails huge amount of money. Because ERP software packages are very expensive. So the benefits of using ERP could be tangible or intangible. Tangible when it comes to monetary terms. Let's say we'll be experiencing cost reductions, improvement of productivity, inventory reduction, lead time reduction, reduced stock obsolescence, faster product or service lookup and ordering, automated ordering and payment. And then for the intangible benefits, this brings positive impact in the business. We can reach out for more vendors. We can have accurate and faster access to data. It saves time and effort in data entry. It gives us more controls. It helps us facilitate strategic planning. It gives it will help us generate uniform reporting according to global standards, improve customer response, increases organizational transparency and responsibility. So the ERP system itself can actually give us the financial statements. So there is no need for us to compute and prepare the financial statements manually. So just a few clicks and then just input the specific period, the specific report that you want to see or download. Then the ERP can generate it for us. Now, sometimes the use of ERP, or there is a failure of the use of ERP because of the following circumstances. For example, there is lack of effective project management, inability to resolve issues and make decisions in a timely manner. The resources are not available when needed. There is a perceived or lack of executive support. The software fails to meet the business needs. So, um, the ERP that you bought is not curtailed to your business needs. So, for example, there are actually ERPs that are best used in a specific industry. So, for example, the ERP that is best used for the hotel industry could not be used by you if your business is into manufacturing. Or another reason could be underestimated levels of change management, improper communication, insufficient end user training. So if the ERP is very nice, but the employees do not know how to navigate, do not know how to use it, then the implementation of the ERP will be considered still as a failure. Failure in gap analysis, failure to identify future business needs, or there is technical obsolescence. The last topic that I will be discussing is TPM. This will be very short. Okay. TPM actually originated in Japan in 1971 as a method for improved machine availability through better utilization of maintenance and production resources. Whereas in most production settings, the operator is not viewed as a member of the maintenance team. In TPM, the machine operator is trained to perform many of the day to day tasks of simple maintenance and fault finding. Teams are created that include a technical expert, so this expert is often an engineer or maintenance technician, as well as operators of the machines. In this setting, the operators are enabled to understand the machinery and identify potential problems, writing them or correcting them before they can impact production, and by so doing, decrease downtime and reduce costs of production. So, the essence of TPM is to train the operators themselves on how to do simple maintenance. Because if the operator does not even know how to conduct simple maintenance on the machines, and it for example, the operator will just wait for the engineer or maintenance technician to come over, so that would be a waste of time. So TPM is a critical adjunct to lean manufacturing. If machine uptime is not predictable and if process capability is not sustained, the process must keep extra stocks to buffer against this uncertainty, and flow through the process will be interrupted. Unreliable uptime is caused by breakdowns or badly performed maintenance. So, correct maintenance will allow uptime to improve and speed production through a given area, allowing a machine to run at its designated capacity or production. Okay, so one way to think of TPM is deterioration prevention. Deterioration is what happens naturally to anything that is not taken care of, right? So, for this reason, many people refer to TPM as total productive manufacturing or total process management. TPM is a productive approach that essentially aims to identify issues as soon as possible and plan to prevent any issues before occurrence. One motto is zero error, zero work related accident, and zero loss. TPM is a management process developed for improving productivity by making processes more reliable and less wasteful. TPM is actually an extension of TQM, which we have actually discussed for total quality management. This is an extension of TQM. The objective of TPM is to maintain the plant or equipment in good condition without interfering with the daily process. So, to achieve this objective, preventive and predictive maintenance is required. By following the philosophy of TPM, we can minimize the unexpected failure of the equipment. To implement TPM, the production unit and maintenance unit should work jointly. Original goal of TPM is to continuously improve all operational conditions within a production system by stimulating the daily awareness of all employees. This is from Nakajima. Okay, and then TPM focuses primarily on manufacturing, although its benefits are applicable to virtually any process, and is the first methodology Toyota used to improve its global position. After TPM, the focus was stretched, and also suppliers and customers were involved. This next methodology was called lean manufacturing. An accurate and practical implementation of TPM will increase productivity within the total organization, where a clear business culture is designed to continuously improve the efficiency of the total production system, where a standardized and systematic approach is used, where all losses are prevented and or known, where all departments influencing productivity will be involved to move from a reactive to a predictive mindset. We're a transparent multidisciplinary organization in reaching zero losses. And then there are steps taken as a journey and not as a quick menu. Finally, TPM will provide practical and transparent ingredients to reach operational excellence. So the goals of total productivity management are zero product defects, zero equipment and plant failures, and zero accidents. It sets out to achieve these goals by gap analysis of previous historical records of product defects, equipment failures, and accidents. The gap analysis may be done with techniques like we have fishbone diagram, cause effect analysis, Y analysis, etc. So, based on such analysis, investigation may be undertaken to discover latent problems underlying the gaps. Many companies actually struggle to implement TPM due to two main reasons. First is having insufficient knowledge and skills, especially in understanding the linkages between the eight pillar activities in TPM. It does not help in that most TPM books are long on the theories but scanty on the implementation details. So it's very, very hard to fully understand and implement. The second reason is that TPM requires more time, resources, and efforts than most of these companies believe they can afford. A typical TPM implementation requires company wide participation, and full results can only be seen after 3 years and even sometimes 5 years. The main reason for this long duration is due to the basic involvement and training required for autonomous maintenance participation, where operators participate in the restoring of the equipment to its original capability and condition and then improving the equipment. So, there is a need to train lots of people, so it requires more time. An effective fast track TPM implementation approach has been successful in paper mill and electronic industries and some other industries. Now, the TPM success measurement, this is actually a set of performance metrics which is considered to fit well in lean manufacturing or TPM environment. And then we have the main goal of TPE, that is overall equipment effectiveness. So more on the maintenance of the equipment. Here are the steps to start a TPM. Steps are to identify the key people involved. Management should learn the philosophy behind TPM. Management must promote the philosophy behind the TPM. Training for all the employees involved. Identify the areas where improvement are needed. Then make an implementation plan and form an autonomous group. So, what are the benefits of implementing TPM in the organization? With the adoption of TPM at the enterprise level, your organization would benefit from the following aspect. A set of new management goals will be developed by the management using the skills and training provided during the implementation of the TPM. There's also team bonding and better accountability. There is improved quality and total cost competitiveness, productivity, and quality team training for problem solving, earlier detection of factors that are critical to maintaining the equipment uptime, measure impact of defects, suboptimal performance, and downtime using the overall equipment effectiveness. And then we can see that motivated people function better all the time. So that's the end of the presentation again. Um, this two-part video, the first part discusses SQC, PDCA, MIS, and OLAP. And this second part discusses MRP1, MRP2, ERP, and TPM. So these are some of the performance evaluation and improvement tools that you can use in the conduct of your performance management system. Thank you so much for listening. And then if you have questions, feel free to ask them through email. Thank you.